A very warm welcome back. Thank you very much for watching Smart24 TV. You're watching The Point, and my name is Anthony Sebale, your host. And today we are talking effective urban employment for a sustainable and stable economy. And of course, joining me today is Mr. Were from the National Organization for Trade Unions and Mr. Mukundane from the Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agencies. Now, in Uganda today, over about 900 million US dollars in 2020, between the year 2020 and 2021, was registered as remittances from workers abroad, Ugandans working abroad. Now, this exceeds the amount of coffee, which is about 559 million US dollars between the same period, which is our chief export when we talk about the exports from Uganda. Now, these remittances have not come at a small cost. Many Ugandans have left their families here and gone abroad to work and have faced oppression. Some have even been killed, with several other cases of domestic violence that have been registered. Now, the Uganda Association for External Recruitment Agencies is responsible for the companies or agencies that are responsible for taking people abroad. And the PRO is here with us today. Now, we would like to talk about what the cost of taking our people abroad to work is versus the benefits that come with this particular initiative. Mr. Mukundane, as you have heard, we have between 2020 and 2021 over 900 million US dollars, which is more than what we get from the export of coffee in Uganda. That is unheard of. So the conversation of labor externalization is not something we can overlook because it brings in a lot of money in Uganda. Do you think we have done enough to protect our citizens, especially in this particular situation during the COVID-19 pandemic, even during this time as a tough economy still beleaguers around?
Thank you so much, Anthony. Ideally, the 900 million US dollars you're talking about is for those Ugandans working in the Middle East alone. The remittances coming from Ugandans working abroad all over the world is rated at 1.3 billion US dollars. So I just wanted to clarify that. So of the 900 million US dollars that we'll receive annually as remittances, 60% of that comes from those working specifically in Saudi Arabia. That tells you really how much this contributes to the economy. But that alone is also what we call non-tax revenue, because the remittances are normally the money that people are earning and then being able to send home. And remember, as I told you earlier, the people who work in the Middle East specifically do not look at things like accommodation, transport, and some, of course, most of them don't even bother on things to do with the citizenship, because you may not acquire citizenship in the Middle East even if you've been there for 20 plus years. So whatever they earn, they send back home. So those are the remittances we're talking about. Now, I'd also hinted on what we call non-tax revenue. For example, the bilateral that I talked about between bilateral labor agreement between the government of Uganda and that of Saudi Arabia did specify or was drafted based on an international labor standard that is known as employer pays principle. Employer pays principle ideally means that you, the employer, will pay for the recruitment process, which includes the travel costs of the employee or the worker you intend to employ. Now, there is what is known as the $1,100 that is clearly stated in that bilateral. By the way, this bilateral we're talking about is of 2017. Luckily, it's under review, and then we'll be able to maybe talk about what would be the ideal case. Even the 900 that I talked about then was agreed then 2017. So we believe now in the review, these monies or these salaries will be changed, increased, so that maybe our people could get more money. So back to that issue of non-tax revenue, the 1,100 that the companies receive from the Saudi counterpart is supposed to facilitate the travel of these individuals. And that includes money to pay for passports. Of course, when it was negotiated then, the passports were costing at about 150 Uganda shillings. That has since changed to about 400,000, which our people pay. This money that comes in is supposed to, which of course the government earns this money for passports as non-tax revenue. This money is supposed to cater for training. It's supposed to cater for different medical checks that are done. Of course, yellow fever, which is under government and all that. But that alone, our people also, maybe just before what our people earn, there's also what we call the $30 per job vacancy that the government of Uganda receives before approving any job order that our people have sourced. So the idea that would mean, for example, 100 domestic workers, before they are approved at the embassy in Riyadh, the foreign partner pays Uganda government an equivalent of 3,000, which is paid to the UR airport or direct. Yes. So that money comes in. It's also non-tax revenue. Now, leaving the economics aside, our people also acquire different skills. We've seen so many people who have gone as security, customer care and security, acquire skills, and most of them have come back here and set up shops in terms of selling CCTV and all that. But that doesn't limit the direct skills they get, but also the social economic benefits for their families here. When they earn, they send this money, which we talked about as remittances. This money takes care of the families here. You did mention the period of COVID-19 when most of our businesses here and shops were closed. Many of the households, because of course sickness stayed, the people still stayed falling sick, needing medical attention, not necessarily for COVID, but even for other illnesses. And the people who were taking care of these bills were the people working abroad, those people of ours, because the money kept on coming. Even when they were also under lockdown, some of the jobs like domestic workers, for them they kept working. So they kept on earning and as well as saving money here. So that's how much when we look at what it contributes this sector. But again, when you talk of the ratio of those in distress versus those that are okay, it is true that Ugandans get into distress when they go abroad for work. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you will not get distress here. But speaking to those who have gone abroad to work, but the majority of these are those that have traveled irregularly. Majority of those that have traveled irregularly means those that have not been cleared by the government of Uganda, or those that are not known. But a certain percentage or a small percentage also through those that have traveled regularly find these challenges. But what is most important is that because they have gone regularly, they are known by the government, there are mechanisms that are put in place to try to give them help. And one of those is that for every 100 say domestic workers, we normally escort them or send them with a supervisor, Ugandan supervisor, who is able to speak to these people in their language. Normally, Uganda is able to keep in touch with this particular cluster of people. But also know that one of the biggest challenges is the diplomatic cover. However much this person can get to know that a lady in home A is having challenges with her boss in terms of food, for example, she may not walk into that home immediately to rescue her. So she will escalate the issue to the embassy, which of course has its own challenges in terms of staffing and in terms of capacity, but because of the issue of diplomatic cover that I talked about. So yes, the issue can be reduced, but it may not be immediate, but what is the most important is it is taken care of. It may be after a day and so. But for the other category that I mentioned earlier, the irregular, for them, because they don't have fallback position, and for them, they normally get into this trouble, and when it happens, and the messages are sent home here, people tend to believe that for whatever is happening to all those that have been taken abroad, and specifically you are responsible because they believe those that have gone through the licensed recruitment companies. So we know that people travel through companies, but not all companies are licensed. This is what is most important. People, yes, go through agents, through companies, but not all companies or agents are actually authorized to take people abroad. Yeah.
Mr. Were, you've heard Mr. Mkundane speaking very strongly there on how much these people working abroad, especially now in the Middle East, because like he usually says, quantities, give us a lot of remittances, And as you, the chairman of the National Organization for Trade Unions, we understand we have trade unions here working in Uganda, working for Ugandans. Have we thought about a structure for the people working in the Middle East and in other countries to kind of also put them under the same umbrella of the trade unions in Uganda?
Yes, the first step we have done is we have signed a memorandum of understanding with UWERA, the association, and we have also, with the guidance of International Labour Organization, we are now trying to find a mechanism with the Minister of Gender, UWERA, to see how we can monitor the workers who are working there. Now, we have also come up with the idea of to see that the associations, that those who are staying in the Middle East and the diaspora, we work with the association, identify the problems that are affecting them. We squarely put it to government and see that, first of all, there is a mechanism of monitoring our people who are traveling from point of departure, transit, and point of destination. We are also struggling to see that anything that affects a Ugandan abroad, we have a mechanism on how to handle it. Trade union has got, we have got our counterparts in almost 187 countries all over the world. So when you talk about the workers' body, you talk about the government and the employer and the tripartite. That is under the mechanism of International Labour Organization. Now, International Labour Organization puts the three together in a way that the employer, the government, and the workers work together to monitor, to ensure that the world of work is monitored through that mechanism. Now, for us as NOTO, our main agenda now is to monitor our people. They leave Uganda, they are going to work where? Who is taking them? How are they communicating? Because we have been getting a lot of distress calls from them.
Yes.
And right now, NOTO is working on a system of trying to put in place kind of switchboard where you call from either Saudi Arabia, we are able to see particular location where you are calling from. And we also want to see now the Minister of Labour putting in place a system whereby if you are living in Uganda, we know you are going to work for Muhammad in Abu Dhabi. Now Muhammad is staying in this area, and we can also monitor through the embassy. Now we have also put in a mechanism pushing government to put labor attaches in all the embassies, especially in the Middle East, where our people, where they have a problem, the labor attache is directly concerned and is the one supposed to work, ensure that the workers out there are monitored.
He's stationed in that country, or
he should be stationed in the embassy.
Okay.
One of the embassy staff to monitor the issue relating to workers. With UWERA, we are going also to negotiate and ensure that UWERA and us work closely to monitor and see the employment agencies, how they take our people. With the time and the help from ILO, we'll progress to a whereby we will have a mechanism to monitor with the Minister of Labor. We are trying to work together and see how we can modify and work in a way that the workers who live here. Now, we also have challenges that there are those workers who travel without being cleared anywhere.
In the verification process.
You find that they only call you when they are in trouble.
Yes.
And they go to countries where we don't have arrangement with them.
Like Oman? Is Oman one of them?
Oman,
yes.
Like other countries. I think Uganda has only now bilateral agreement with Saudi Arabia.
It's the only active one.
The active one. But I was in Dubai last week, and I happened to meet all the Ugandans working there, and with their association. We have also agreed that that association will now work together. We are going to negotiate with them, have a mechanism where all those who are working in Dubai now will be under one umbrella, will be in the union,
yes,
so that we can monitor and have that relation. But there's also a challenge in Arab countries that most of their labor unions don't function. Most of them are government. And you find that it's very difficult to penetrate and find a way of how you can help the worker. Then they have also policies which are, I would call them religious.
It's conservative, rigid.
Yeah, it's called the
Sharia.
The Sharia, it's the kafar.
Kafar, yes,
Kafar.
something like that.
Yes.
So you find that it's very difficult. Now, what we did in this my trip was first of all to identify the problems Ugandans are facing out there. Talk to government, see how we can handle them in a more organized way. Because we cannot continue allowing our people go out there to suffer. We must take charge, we must monitor, we must ensure that we don't leave things go like there's nobody in charge of. Ugandans who are out there bring a lot of money here. Now, that basis, we also need to look after them and ensure that you rightly said that now they bring more export than coffee. But I know coffee is getting up now. But what we need to do is not to allow this, because first of all, we must protect the workers' interest in those countries. Like UAE. UAE is a very organized country. When you go there, you must be organized. You must be able to have skills. But there are those who are suffering. Those who have gone for housekeeping and so on. Those are the people who are really having problems. Now, they also have underlying problems that we need to find a way how to modify them. Even before these workers live here, we need to train them. We need to prepare them because they are going in virtually as a new country.
Yes.
Where the culture is very different.
Yes.
Where they have to follow certain law. Where they have, most of them, they take away their phones.
Yes.
And
passports.
You know those people, they are very strict. And what I discovered also that most of these workers go and work for people who work in the government. Sometimes they have their own secret as a government. So you don't expect them to leave a worker with the what? With the phone to communicate anyhow and so on. But all these things must first of all appear in the bilateral agreement. We must ensure that communication between our workers and our country is smooth. We are able to monitor where they are working, and also the work they are going to do must be decent. Those are the areas we as the workers organization we geared to. But all in all, our people going to work out is not bad, especially UAE. UAE are well versed because I almost went to every place and talked to these people. I found out that their working condition is better. But in countries like now where Oman and other areas, those ones, in fact, I want to advise Ugandans that they shouldn't go to Arab countries without permission or following the procedure, because it's very, very costly. It can cost them their life, and it's very dangerous. So these are some of them. Then we have also what they call the human trafficking. Human trafficking is criminal, where people get people, go and take them, like those who are brought back from Dubai.
Yes,
most of them were taken there without permission. You know, UAE getting visa is very easy. Now, they took advantage of that, took people there. Most of them, after a few weeks, they were piled in a place, and you find that they were crying, they had a lot of problems, until that the government of that UAE made an arrangement to bring these people back. Our government also came in. Then there was also some politics in it. Then we came in and said, no, what we need our people to do is not politics, because you go out there to get money. Instead of doing our politics here, let's now make sure those who go there go to make money. So what am I saying? I'm trying to tell you that Ugandans who go out illegally really suffer.
Yes.
They are duped, money taken from them, they are dumped in a place, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and you know, in those countries, it's very difficult to get food. So you find that people become destitutes, and it's embarrassing. So as the National Organization of Trade Unions, we have come up with the mechanism. With the time we are going to have our ministry, the association, and even those in diaspora, to try to work out a system on how we are going to educate our people, how we are going to ensure that our people don't be duped to go in those dangerous games.
Mr. Mkundani, the president most recently during a cabinet meeting, I think in July, tasked impromptu the Minister of Gender and Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi, Honorable, to actually present a report, a comprehensive report on what's happening to Ugandans in the UAE. And the minister had to ask for a few days to go and actually make consultations, especially with your association. Do you think, and this is not the first time, I think 2016 there was a ban where people were stopped actually for a specific period of time.
Sure.
And so many other patches that have been put together to try to solve the problem. But what do you think, where is the problem stemming from? Is it the ministries? Is it the people who are still big-headed, not following procedures? What is still the leakages? What are some of the leakages that are still affecting Ugandans, that we are still seeing the cases of violence and deaths in the Middle East?
Thank you so much. I think what we need to understand is, first of all, migration is a human right. And that alone does not leave labor migration. And as we started saying, when people do not have what to do here, the pressures here will push them to go and look for whatever to do. And again, following what I stated, is that those countries in the Arab or the Middle East are the most attractive destinations. Chairman did mention very well here how nice UAE is and how good it would be for Ugandans to work there, but also the way they travel. The irregular way, which we mentioned here very well, those who have not been cleared by the government, those who are not known by the government. And citing the example of UAE, based on the very recent issues, we were told there are over 100,000 Ugandans in UAE alone. And of those, only 25,000 were cleared by the government of Uganda.
Just a quarter.
Just a quarter. 75,000 have traveled through what we call irregular means. They could either have been trafficked or could have actually gone on their own, anticipating that when they reach the other side, they'll look for jobs. He also mentioned very well how easy it is to really access a ticket, visa. And, and of course, when they reach the other side, when they fail to get jobs, when they fail to get what to do, when they get into those troubles that he really mentioned, their cries will come back here. When those cries come back here, the perception is that people who are taking Ugandans abroad for work are the problem, or Ugandans being taken to work abroad is the problem, which normally is not, because people need to understand the different mechanisms people use to really travel. We have so many Ugandans, over 100,000 in Oman. None of those has ever been cleared by the government of Uganda. But you see, when people look at a picture in uniform, so they think that's how terrible it is and all that. Now, it is true in 2016, because of different outcries, there was a proposal which actually was put in practice of a ban. And companies then that were licensed were banned from taking Ugandans abroad for employment. But what did it do to the Ugandans traveling? Did they stop? No, they did not stop. They continued to work, to travel, and within by that same period, which lasted for about a year, over 30,000 Ugandans traveled to Saudi Arabia. Because, as I said earlier, people have to travel, you see. So, and if the proposal is to help the Ugandan migrant workers, anticipating that they will get into trouble, so you're trying to put a mechanism that will stop them from getting into trouble, and you ban the travel, the illegal. People will travel illegally, and then this will be exposed. So as Chairman said, what needs to be done is to improve on the monetary mechanism. I did mention the $30 that contributed or paid to the government for every job vacancy that our people source. And this money, ideally, even basing on the regulations that were amended, Statute number 47 of 2021, they do mention what we call labor attaches. These labor attaches and the team are supposed to be deployed by the government and help to do with the monitoring. As I mentioned earlier, there's an issue of diplomatic cover. When you are just any normal person, it may be very hard for you to approach some of the homes and all that. But when you have diplomatic cover, you are a staff of the embassy, you're staff of the government, of course you are deployed as a labor attaché, and the team, we believe that they will be able, together with the other approaches that we were putting in place, for example, that marriage we're talking about with the NOTU, to be able to answer some of these challenges. But we realize that even when this money is collected, sent to the government coffers, it goes elsewhere. So those gaps, yes, the minister could have been tasked to produce a report, but with these glaring gaps yes, even if the report is produced, it will really show that the government, maybe from a different arm, or different angle, maybe finance has to release money to fund, and of course that is always our prayer. For example, when you look at the tourism sector, they collect money and money is plowed back in the sector to improve the sector, to promote the sector. Why can't it be done the same way? Because money is coming in. We will see money coming in, but money is not plowed back in the sector. So we believe if this money is put back into the sector, using, for example, such mechanisms to improve monitoring, all these outcries could be able to go away. Of course, even give us ability to sensitize the public, people to know that if I'm traveling, I need to go through legal means, and that is, I have to be cleared by the government. I must travel through a licensed company. By the way, you can even go as an individual, but you must be cleared because you can't source for a job. A foreign company or organization could employ you, but you must be cleared by the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development to know that actually you've traveled to country A and you're going to work. You've gone as a migrant worker. So you can be cleared that way, or cleared through the licensed recruitment company, and you'll be known. So should you have challenges, then you'll be known. But people travel anyhow, anywhere, because they are looking for what to do, and maybe they are told when they reach there they'll get something to do, and most times it's not. And they end up into distress, and of course set all these alarms, set all these distress calls, and the public here definitely will get agitated with what I see. But it's basically some of those gaps that have to be looked into, have to be answered by the government also, put in place, and then we'll have everything good to go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukundani. Ladies and gentlemen, we are still talking effective urban employment policies for economic stability, and we've been talking labor externalization. Now we are going to take a quick breather, but when we return, Uganda has just legalized organ transplant here in Uganda. Now you can be able to maybe transfer your kidney to someone else, of course following a certain legal procedure that has been stipulated by Parliament. However, in the recent past, many Ugandans have had their organs fished out in the Middle East and probably other countries like India without their consent, as they are trafficked as, of course, workers to go and work in the Middle East, and they end up like this. Also, there's been a question on the professionalism of Uganda's workforce. Many people with degrees and sometimes even masters have been going abroad actually to work as housekeepers or drivers. Is this enough for us? Are we robbing ourselves of our workforce? We'll be right back after this quick breather. This is The Point.